everybody? Welcome back to the channel, Brock Go Fast. I hope everybody had an awesome holiday. I know I did. Got to spend it with some family. I hope you guys did too. Got some cool card presents from the fam. My mom actually got me this Shelby hat to match the GT350R, so thanks, Mom. Today I wanted to talk to you about track prep. See a lot of first timers in their Shelby GT350s or in their normal Porsche or their S2000, stuff like that, always talk about track prep on their first day. So today, that's what the video is going to be about. If you haven't already, go ahead, hit the subscribe button. It's down below. Share this video to some of your friends that might have questions, and comment below on maybe things I missed and things that you might have questions for your very own track prep. So I'm thinking first we're going to start off with my car because we have a track event coming up soon, and the Shelby GT350 or GT350R, and this will translate into your own car. Now, these are some of the things that I like to do for my track prep to get started, right? So there's things that I always bring. For one, it's going to be tools, right? We're always going to have our tools. But the first things first, whether you have a brand new car, you have an older car, you haven't maybe done the brakes lately, first thing you're going to want to do is safety, right? Our track prep should always be safety, because safety's first. Doesn't matter if you have the stickiest tires in the world, doesn't matter if you have the coolest, lightest spoiler in the world, safety comes first, and that always starts with the braking system. So one thing that I always do is depending on the car, whether you have say a Porsche GT3, a GT350 Ford, you might have an S2000, things like that. Some cars come with DOT4 fluid, some come with 3. So always check your owner's manual. Let's see what kind of fluid you have in there. DOT4 is good temperature-wise for tracking the car. It might not have the highest boiling point or the highest one that you'd want for track conditions, but it might be good for your first time to go out, take some laps, take a weekend, have a track weekend, because you're not pushing it as hard as you possibly could. One thing that I always do is I always step up to a better brake fluid, whether it's Motul 600, Motul 660, Castrol SRF, and I know there's some other really good ones. So go ahead, and for your first thing to really think about is either get your brakes bled, bleed them yourself, make sure there's no air. If it's over a year old and it's the OEM fluid, go ahead and change it. Go ahead and get some better fluid, because I'm gonna tell you, once you start tracking, you're gonna do it again and again and again. So let's start with the good stuff, right? So I know for my car, I've used the Motul 600 for a long time. In my track prep S2000, I always had Motul 600 in the car, full aero, sticky tires, and I never really had an issue with it. I track a lot at Sebring, Road Atlanta, and it's got a lot of cool off zones that might have helped me. And plus, I wasn't out there doing time trials because I wasn't pushing the car to the 10/10s. So go ahead and get your brake fluid flushed or fully drained out and put the new higher temp stuff in with that. So that would be step one, right? We got to get our brakes done, our fluid done. That is very, very, very important. Depending on your car as well. I know the Shelby GT350, there isn't a huge need for stainless lines, but that's always on my checklist for most cars because I want that solid brake pedal feel, and as the fluid gets hot, I don't want the expansion of the fluid making the pedal soft. So that's something I look for as well. And with the brake fluid, something you're going to want to have on your track list, right? We did our brakes, check. Now we want to always bring a bottle of brake fluid. So I always have an unopened bottle of brake fluid with me no matter what, or if I have one that just has a little bit left over from the flush or the brake fluid change, bring that with you, because as you're tracking the car, you might have to bleed the brakes mid-session or bleed the brakes after day one to get all the air out of it, and you're going to want to top that off. So make sure that is on your checking list if you're doing the brakes and when you do the brakes, because you always want to have some spare stuff. But us track guys will always help you out. You can ask anyone in the paddock if you need a little bit more. Somebody's going to be there to help you out. So that's always on my checklist is the brake fluid. Next is pads. Check your pads. If you're not used to doing that, take it to the dealership. Go ahead on some of the forums, some of the Facebook pages. Ask, hey, I got OEM pads on there. Is this good enough for a track day? A lot of people will tell you no or yes. There are certain cars manufacturers make, like a Shelby GT350R, a Porsche GT3, GT4, GT2, that have track-ready pads from factory. They're not going to be race pads, but they're going to be track pads for the occasional track day or track weekend, which are good enough. that's what I'm gonna run on my car for the first event, because I wanna get a baseline on how fast the car is. And as I go to race pads, or maybe stickier tires, or a square setup, or suspension, I wanna have a good baseline and get used to the car and get really fast with the car before I step up that type of commitment. Now, as we look at brake pads, right, we're gonna make sure they're the good distance. Now, one thing that I've always done, I've done it in my S2000, I've done it in my dad's Porsche track car that we've done, I always bring an extra set of front pads. A lot of times I'll bring a set of rear pads with me as well, because there is nothing worse than doing a 2-day track weekend, finishing Saturday, and go, oh man, I don't know if I have enough brakes to finish Sunday. That sucks, because yeah, you're so amped, and to go see and watch for the last 2 sessions, the last 3 sessions on a Sunday or whatever, it's heartbreaking, because you were there. I should be in the car right now. I had the whole weekend to do this. It's gonna be so awesome. Trust me, it's heartbreaking. It's absolutely heartbreaking. So I always make sure I have an extra set of pads with me, just in case. If you don't use them, great. You'll use them next time, or you'll swap them out. Use the ones that you might have left over as an extra set if they've got a little bit of wear left on them, because you always want to be prepared. So always bring an extra bottle of brake fluid, always bring an extra set of pads. You don't have to, but this is a rule of thumb to make sure that your weekend is maximized and you're not panicking looking for an extra set of brake pads at the last second, because I tell you what, you're not going to be able to find them. So, and then third, we got our brakes, we've got our safety check. Third, let's go with the engine oil. Make sure your engine oil is clean. Make sure it's not at the last end of its cycle, because remember, at a track day, we're going to be using this car. We're going to be really pushing the cars. We want to make sure that engine oil is fresh on our cars, and make sure, maybe do a fresh oil change. If you've only got a couple 100 miles on it, don't worry about it, but you want to make sure it's clean. I know on my car, it's only had about 800 miles on the oil change. So I'm gonna run the weekend at Sebring, and then I'll probably change it right after that, because I know I'm gonna have probably 8 or 9 30-minute sessions out there ripping on the car, and I can't wait. So with that being said, I did order 2 more bottles of the Motorcraft oil for the Shelby GT350R, because that's another thing. I always make sure that I have oil on hand, because you never know if you need a little top off. You never know if a hose will go, or you spring a little leak. You don't know what's going to happen. So always make sure you have a bottle of oil with you, right? So let's go back. We got extra set of brake pads. We've got brake fluid, extra couple bottles of engine fluid, because you don't know what's going to happen. And then thirdly, one thing we didn't talk about, right? We're working on the car now, is safety again, right? Part of your track day prep list. Do I have a helmet? Do I have a SA, I think it's 2020 helmet that is safe for events? So that's something that is always required by any track event, and they're going to go through it on your checklist. Do you have the proper equipment to be safe in the car if an incident does occur? So make sure you got the right helmet. If you don't, there's a lot of websites you can go to. I know SafeRacer.com, Wine Country Motorsports give you great deals. A lot of those guys are already at the track to help you when you get there. But make sure you go try on the helmets, get a helmet, because you are going to be bummed if they tell you have to rent a helmet, or they don't have any rentals, because you're kind of stuck at that moment. And here you are running around at the last minute trying to borrow someone's helmet, and that sucks. So safety, 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 safety. So I've already got a checklist that I put together that I start crossing. So we talked about helmets, had a little interruption there, so I had to stop. No, but yeah, so we talked about helmets, we talked about safety gear, because that's important, because like I said, #1 goal when tracking your car is safety, because you need to be safe, your car has to be safe, and that's just gonna make it more enjoyable all around. Next thing you wanna really look at is your tires. Do I have enough tread? Remember, you're gonna be using this tread, you're going to be using the tires to their full capacity, hopefully. So you wanna make sure that your tires have enough tread that can last you a full weekend without going to the cords, or really losing that grip, going off track. Because remember, your tires are not only for handling, they're for braking and for gas, because every time, every movement you put in that car, it's going from the tires to the ground. So that is another key thing to look at. Now, you don't have to have the fastest car in the world. You don't have to have the most powerful car in the world. You just have to go out and have fun. And as long as you've done your safety checks with your helmet, check your brakes, your brake fluid, and make sure your tires are good, anyone can go out and have a good time. Those are your main key indicators of something going bad and something being good. And you want to make sure you're prepped for all those scenarios, and make sure your car is ready to hit the track. Because again, the last thing you want to do is cord some tires on your second session and be out for the entire weekend, or trying to go to the paddock and try to buy tires or borrow tires. What do you got? I'll pay you whatever, because you don't want to ruin your weekend. So that is also on my checklist. Now, for those of you that don't have tools, because sometimes this is your first track event, right? This is the first time you're going out there. These are the key things that I bring to the track, that if you're getting into track time and you're getting into cars, there are some key things that you need to bring to the track to help you out in any situation. And trust me, there'll be racers out there and enthusiasts that will help you no matter what, because that's what this community does. But these are the things that I would recommend bringing with you, whether it's throwing them in the truck with the trailer or putting them in the trunk of the car on the way to the track event. Because if you're going to a track day, you're probably a car guy. So obviously you need a jack. You got to bring a jack with you. Be able to jack the car up, look under it, change brake pads, look at tires, swap rotors. Those are the kind of things that I recommend bringing with you. And if you don't have a set of jack stands, you need to have some jack stands, because no matter what, remember, you're going to the track, you're going to be hooked, you're already a car guy. You should have these tools with you at all times. Another thing that I would bring as well, it is an investment, but I do think it's important, is a torque wrench. They'll torque the wheels and tires for you at the track to make sure you're safe. But this is something, that tool you're going to last forever. You're going to use it on the car no matter what you do, no matter how you work on it. So this is something that I bring with me, and it's an investment for you to have at all times. Another thing that you can make yourself, makeshift, this is a brake bleeder. It's just a lemonade bottle with 2 hoses on it, one for air. It hangs right onto the caliper. Put this on here, and you can bleed your brakes without having a special $70 contraption. This is easy to make at home. My dad actually made this, and it's probably 15 years old, so it lasts a good while. So, and those are some of the things that you're going to want to have with you on tools. And hopefully you already have a set of wrenches and a set of ratchets for any occasion. With my car, they use the Torx bits, which are like the little stars instead of an octagon or whatnot. A lot of cars are going to that, which is kind of an interesting thing. So if you need a set of those, look at your car, look at the nuts, the bolts, the things that you're going to need. Maybe do some research on what your car takes to maybe change the brakes or work on the engine, and make sure you have those tools on hand. Even if it's a couple wrenches, couple ratchets, the main ones, be able to read, put them in a little bag. I have a little ammunition box here that I use to be able to carry with me and bring some of those key tools with me, so no matter what, I'm covered and I can try to work on my car or fix it or change anything that I need while I'm at the track. All right, so we've gone over brake pads, brake fluid, we've gone over tires, and personal safety as well, and some of the tools that I think are important for your track day. One of the other things that you're going to get while going to a track day, or the club that you're running with, I'm going to be running with PBOC. I know NASA, PCA, Chin, they all have it. They are going to provide you with a checklist, which we're going to show you now. This checklist is everything that you need to be able to check off on your car. They're going to give you all the specifics that you might want to tighten some bolts or torque the lug nuts or check everything out and make sure that you've done it prior, or a shop has done it prior and it's signed off that your car is good to go. Because when you bring this form to your check-in, or to your tech, they call it, they're going to look and see maybe what shop did this. Is everything checked off? Do I know this car's safety? They're going to torque the lugs, make sure those are good, and you're on your way. And they're also going to check your helmet. So print that out, bring it with you, bring it to a shop to check over if you're not used to this or haven't done it before, don't know what you're looking for. A lot of shops will do this for free. They put it on the rack, they'll check bolts, they'll check everything, make sure you don't have any loose hoses or any fluids leaking, and sign off, and you will be good to go, because you will need this. And a lot of people wait to the last minute and scramble and don't know what to do. I know one thing that a really awesome shop here in Tampa, Speed Syndicate, that preps a lot of race cars, what they do on your control arm bolts and a lot of the bolts that are going to be moving with your suspension, they take some paint and go across the bolt so you can tell if it is moved from where that line is or if it's getting loose. Because one of the things that happens is you're using this car pretty hard, there's bumps, there's curbs, you're really using it and the bolts can rattle loose. Actually my S2000 turn 6, one of the bump stop control arm bolts rattled itself out mid-corner. The car went straight. Luckily, I wasn't going too fast. Saved it through the grass, and then I heard the bolt fall out. So that could have been catastrophic. And I had tightened it the day before, and shame on me in the morning. I didn't look, and that was on me. But things happen, right? And that's why we buy track insurance if we can. But there's a different video on that you can check the profile and check that out. But these are the things as part of your checklist that I think if you do this, no matter what you've done to the car, you can make sure that those key things are good to go for your car. You're gonna have an awesome track day, no matter what. And you are gonna be hooked if it's your first one. I don't have to tell you, you're screwed. You're screwed because you're gonna fall in love on your first track day. So remember, we're gonna look at our brake fluid first. We're gonna check our brake pads. We're gonna check our tires. We're gonna make sure we have the proper safety equipment. We're gonna make sure that we have the right tools with us or can get the right tools to have with us in case of an emergency or in case you need to do something. And a lot of times you never have to do anything, right? You get to get in the car, haul butt, go home. And then we also wanna make sure that we have printed the organizer's checklist and make sure everything has been checked off with the car, signed off appropriately, that way you can make tech nice and easy. You're gonna give them your helmet, you're gonna give them that sheet of paper, they'll torque the lugs, make sure the battery's tied down, and you're good to go, and you're ready for fun. So I hope this video helps. I hope it gets rid of some of your anxiety of what do I do for a track day prep, and I hope you just get to go out and have fun. Go ahead and hit like on this video because I know you liked it. If you could comment below, I'd love to hear what you do for part of your track prep. And if you could subscribe because there's gonna be more stuff coming soon as we get the car ready. I'm super happy to be back after the holidays, bring you guys more videos, and thanks for joining in. Brock, go fast.